Here we are on the grid then, and my rear right brake light somehow is already out, so there's an indication of how this race is probably going to go as we get underway in these monstrous vehicles, and I can hardly control the wheel spin as I almost send Steaksource into a spin off the line there, because as you can probably tell from the roof rack and the picnic box that we've got strapped to these cars, these things are suppressing at least 600 brake horsepower under the bonnet. So in all fairness, I'd say we're doing a pretty good job of getting through these first corners without incident. I mean, this is round 9 out of 10, so it's only taken us about the entire championship to get this right. Making our way through here without creating all sorts of sorry scenes or infuriating incidents. So we're off to a decent start here, side by side with Evil Tunic. And if you're a long-time viewer of the Benefactor Championship Series, you're probably wondering the same thing as me. Exactly how and when is Sean L13 going to pass us all and disappear into the distance? Especially on a tight track like this, where as you can see it feels like you're surrounded by about 30 cars, even though there's only 17 players in the lobby. And we've got crashes going on all over the place, cars going into the palm trees, cars sneaking down my inside. I get punted in the side rather violently there. You're going to have a hard time explaining that dent to my grandfather when I return his Glendale at the end of this race. And as a result, I did drop back a bit there, but with all the commotion going on up front, it literally took the first 2 corners to latch onto the back of the group, and once again, we're all bunched up. Now, we're crawling around these corners at snail's pace, but contrary to popular belief, it's not because Mushroom Pie Man has a stranglehold on the Oh no, hang on. This time I think that might just be the reason. As Sean L spits in the face of racing purists and curb surfs his way down the straight, passing the 2 cars which were holding him up. Something which I'll just make a mental note of. You know, purely for research purposes. Definitely won't be exploiting that later on. In front, Evil Tunic's utilising all kinds of techniques, including teleportation, to get around Mike, who's in front of him, as we see Drubert parked up at the fruit stands on the left there, and I can't really blame him, to be honest. I mean, I totally get it. When you see that deal 2 for 1 on the melon, it's pretty hard to ignore. I mean, it's a fucking melon! Just so damn juicy! So we'll leave Drubert to make his purchases, much like I'm leaving the majority of this footage in. To be frank, this is where all the action happened. It does die down a bit later on, as I went for a maniacal move on Mike into turn 1 there, but he did manage to hold it around the outside, so that's some good defending there from Mike. And meanwhile, Must D, with those 2 small mistakes, has surrendered 3 positions to Tunic, Mike, and now myself. So this is where things got rather controversial. Mike goes a bit too hard into turn 10, gets up on 2 wheels, has to slow down, and I end up sending him into a palm tree. Now, I've watched it back a bunch of times, and I don't think it was my fault. I couldn't really have anticipated what was going to happen there, but just like my Sandy Speedway comeback, a moment with Mike has brought my comeback to a halt. Even Drubert and his melons have gone through as I attempt to return this position to Mike. There he goes, he's moving through now. And God, I feel like we're about halfway through the video and we're only on lap 5. It's just a testament to how much action was going on at the start of this race, as I find myself now in a more familiar position, being stuck behind Evil Tunic and Mike once more. All the while, Sean L's increasing his gap over me somewhere up front. I should probably surrender the thought of victory at this stage, but I wouldn't be in the race if I still didn't want to win it. As we see Macy getting a Slovakian slingshot down the left-hand side. Some people are taking the galloping part of the Glendale Gallop a little too literally for my liking with all this curb mounting. Speaking of mounting, Macy's just mounted the rear of Evil Tunic. Now he's crashed into me. Calm it down, Macy. That might work back in Slovakia, but this is a gentleman's event. Now we're hot on the heels of Mike once again. He goes a bit too deep into that crooked chicane, so it's likely we'll see an overtake up the inside here. I'm going to have to brake late into the final turn, and with the aid of the bumps on the left, I should be able to speed away. Closing up to James Nash, we had Drubert off on the left, Pat Mahad as well, so we're gaining positions all over the place, and James Nash has done a Mike into turn 10, so we'll pass him too, and that's going to be 5th. Unbelievably, the manager of the downtown cab company, Lucas, had been holding on to 4th this entire time. How he'd managed to lose that much speed on the start-finish straight, yes, straight, I'm not entirely sure, but 4th was secured. As we make our way past the pits and we see the ominous black Glendale of Sean L, presumably waiting for a carefully planned out gap of clean air. But then again, this is Los Santos, aka Los Angeles, so that would be impossible. Skipping ahead, I'm moving to second, which can only mean that Tom Tad has just pitted in there, leaving only the Steak Sauce and myself yet to pit. But on the very next lap, Steak Sauce did exactly that, handing first place over to me, which was pretty hard to grasp, as 5 laps ago with the mic incident I was down in 12th. And if you're not bored of this same stretch of road yet, here it is again, as Lucas in his taxi opts not to take the final corner and then, surprise motherfucker. So that was terrifying enough to tell me that I might be wanting to consider to pit in, because I didn't want to be mixing it up with the back markers. So as I came down this stretch of road, I checked my mini-map and I saw all the red dots in front of me, and I decided, yes, this is the time to head into the pits. Now what the hell is this? What is this? Some kind of Gymkhana caravan obstacle course? This is supposed to be a place of safety! As a bunch of cars fly past the pit exit, including Shawnell, who is now leading the race, with Steak Sauce in hot pursuit. I was expecting Tom Tad to come along, so you can imagine my surprise when it was the banana-coloured car, the man who can change a front door lock in 20 minutes to make a playlist on time and still receive a 5-star review, Drubert. So I had my sights set on him, because he probably hadn't pitted yet, and if I got lucky, perhaps I'd have time to close down on the Steak Sauce later. I thought I'd have a battle on my hands as Drubert had clearly been pacing since his fruit stand incident, but Drubert, being the ledge that he is, gifted me third. So I could now focus on putting in some good laps to go after an even better podium spot. And then out of nowhere, Steak Sauce was moving very, very slowly on the start-finish straight. So we're going side by side here onto lap 17, and although Steak Sauce is very clearly present on the inside, I'm going to turn into him, send myself into a spin, and guilt trip him into thinking it was his fault. Worked like a charm. But I paid for it shortly afterwards, and Steak Sauce was able to regain second. Now, there's been a reason why Steak Sauce had hung on to first for the first half of this race, and that's because he has some speed around the Glendale Gallop, so to pass him, I was going to need somebody's help to slow him down. Possibly a backmarker. Possibly a backmarker from London, going by the name of Pak Mahad, so I'll just pull to the left here and... Pak Mahad, this is not what we agreed! Right, fine. I'll just have to do this the right way. I'm going to have to take better lines and push corners as wide as I possibly can, because as you can see, Steak Sauce was quite easily keeping me at bay. In fact, he was getting away, so I'm going to need some sort of intervention to help me out here, some form of assistance, some form of gift from above to I'll take it. As the sun rose from the east, only 2 more hairy moments separated me from the finish line. One being a backmarker with the same manufacturer's evil tunic, as he'd cottoned on as to where his teleportation button was, and the other being a steeplechase hurdle. The Glendale Gallop living up to its name there. All in all, the race lacked some of the stronger competition. Picano didn't arrive on time for this particular round, and Uchiha wasn't present either, so I did expect a relatively decent result, but that didn't mean I didn't have to work for it. I did pretty well to fight from the back. So Shawnell's wrapped things up in first, and as we approach the final corner of the race, all together now. So, not a bad result. The only thing that could have made that better, I suppose, is if Rockstar took the cap off the prize money and rewarded us accordingly. And with that victory, Shawnell 13 has locked out the top spot with a huge number of points and solidifies his claim as being the champion of the Benefactor Championship. His back-to-back wins in rounds 1 and 2 pretty much saw to that, but we've still got 1 more round to go, so thanks for watching guys, and I will see you next time on Through the Grapevine.